They thought they were pulling the trigger on just another girl, 3 shots, quick, cold, practice. They had no idea who she was. And Lord, they had even less of a clue who her mother was. And that's where their little routine blew up right in their faces. You know what I mean? It happened so fast. Nobody saw it coming. Least of all her 17, bright as a summer morning, marching home in her cheer uniform, earphones in, backpack bouncing, smile wide, totally oblivious to the dark wave about to crash down. That street should have been safe, quiet as a Sunday nap, but that's the thing about routine patrols in some neighborhoods. All it takes is a cop car rolling up slow behind you, and suddenly, your whole world flips in a heartbeat. There's no warning, no hands where I could see 'em, no siren, just the kind of silence that's colder than the barrel of a gun. It said she matched the description. Isn't that always the script? There was no weapon, no crime, nothing but the color of her skin and the easy confidence in her stride. It took seconds, and then she was gone, her blood soaking the sidewalk while the officers stepped back, radioed in the code, as if they were ordering coffee, not ending a life that barely had a chance to begin. Folks started gathering, phones up, voices trembling, but the damage had already been carved deep. You could feel the air shift, the weight of another name about to be stuffed into a headline, another family broken on live TV, and yet this time, the story wasn't going to follow the usual script. You see, what nobody standing on that street, not the officers, not the neighbors, not even the bystanders streaming it live realized was who that girl's mother was. She wasn't some grieving civilian holding a press conference, praying for thoughts and prayers and hashtags. Her mother was in another part of the city when the call came, and when the name hit her ear, it landed like a grenade. Her only child, gone, just like that, no warning, no reason. Now, a lot of folks would crumble or scream at the sky or turn to the news begging for answers. But this woman was a whole different animal. Let me back up a sec. She wasn't just anybody. She was a tactical commander, ex-Delta Force, the kind of person who's seen things that would make your blood run cold, the kind who's ended wars, brought down terrorists, rescued people from the jaws of hell. She hadn't worn her uniform in years. It sat, folded, in a trunk at the back of her closet, surrounded by medals and old field reports no civilian eyes had ever seen. She never thought she'd have to open it again, but grief isn't rational, and when they pulled the trigger on her daughter, they didn't just steal a life, they woke up something you can't train for, something the police department had no idea how to contain. So, while the city did what it always does, place the officers on administrative leave, released a bland statement about pending investigation, and let the media spin their tales about tragic misunderstandings, she moved like a shadow, not with hashtags or candles, but with cold strategy and the kind of precision that doesn't make headlines. She got on the phone, not to talk to reporters, but to people who don't have names on public records, to doors that don't have numbers, to command centers that don't officially exist. And while the department pretended everything was by the book, she was gathering her own kind of evidence, pulling the thread on every loose end, pressing every contact she'd ever made. You ever seen a chess master flip the board when they know the game's rigged? That's what she did. Within 48 hours, things started slipping. Body cam footage that had gone missing showed up on a federal server. Background checks started leaking to the press. The official story began to crack. She didn't say a word in public, but the right people felt the heat, and suddenly those cops weren't just answering to internal affairs. They were staring down federal agents who didn't come to play. She walked into the police station, not as a grieving mother, but as a commander who outranked everyone in the building, who knew every loophole, every dirty trick, and how to slam every door shut. Now, you can call it revenge, but for her it was protocol, the kind of protocol that doesn't leave room for apologies. The chief of police got a visit from people in suits with no badges, just questions, and every answer made things worse for the department. Meanwhile, the city tried to stay quiet. The media moved on, but the silence was deafening. You could feel the tension in the air, like a storm about to break. And here's the twist, because every story's got one, right? There was this rookie cop not involved in the shooting, but haunted by what he'd seen in the body cam footage. He reached out anonymously, sent her a copy of the raw file, risked his whole career. In that footage, you saw it all: her daughter walking, earbuds in, turning, surprise flickering in her eyes, 3 shots, no warning, the officer stepping back like they just swatted a bug. No threats, no crime, just a girl and 3 men who saw her as a problem to be erased. That video hit the oversight committee like a shockwave. She walked in, full dress uniform, not a tear in her eye, but you could feel the room change. Senators, police brass, every camera pointed straight at her. She didn't plead. She didn't ask. She demanded. She called for a federal review of use of force policies, national audits of local police departments, the kind of reforms that shake up whole systems. And when some senator asked her, "What does justice look like to you now?" she said, "Permanent change. Not a memorial, not a candlelight vigil, not another t-shirt. I want laws. I want consequences." Word got out, and suddenly, her daughter wasn't just another name in a sad parade, she was the face of a movement. Parents across the country started sharing their stories. Officers started stepping down. Cities reopened old cases, and for once, you felt like the ground was shifting. The officers who pulled the trigger, one resigned. One tried to erase evidence. Another lawyered up, but the system that always protected them started to crumble, one crack at a time. The final scene? Picture this. The police chief forced to read a public apology, the officers stripped of their badges, real reforms inked into law. But she refused to stand at any memorial. She said, "I don't need candles. I need consequences." And that, right there, became a rallying cry across the nation. You know? Her daughter's face, lifted high not as a symbol of tragedy, but as the moment the cycle finally broke. The list of names stopped growing because one mother refused to let her pain be swept under the rug. But here's what I want to know, and maybe you do too. Does real change ever happen without outside pressure, without the federal government or even the military stepping in? Can a system this broken fix itself? Or does it take someone breaking all the rules to make justice real? Drop your thoughts below. Don't let silence be the only thing louder than a gunshot. Let's talk about what real justice actually means.